Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 1 of this year's Christmas calendar on my YouTube channel. Today is perhaps December 1st when you're watching this video. If you're watching it in post, well, December 1st have passed and this video has been published on December the 1st, which means that it's episode number 1 and we're gonna go all the way up to episode number 25 this year for the Christmas calendar, just like last year. Last year I talked a lot about famous popular songs from the Billboard charts, the top 20 of each respective year from 2000 to 2024. And this year I'm doing a little bit something similar. However, I've shifted focus to Eurovision for this year. And I was planning on talking about every song from 2000 up until 2025 then, and the positions, like in terms of what position they finished in during each respective year, which means that, for instance, on the 25th of December, I will be talking about every winner from Eurovision from 2000 to 2025. But the starting point will be from the bottom, and I'll work my way up as we go along for this month, which means that today I will be talking about every song that has finished in 25th place, plus 26th and 27th, because of course some Eurovision years have had songs in the final that did not finish in 25th place, but they finished even lower than that. And basically what I will be doing in this video is I will rank all of them. As you can see surrounding me here, there are a bunch of empty slots where I will place all of the songs that you can see at the bottom here and just order them. And you know, it's not going to be a perfect list by any means. I will probably change my mind on the list tomorrow already. But it's just, you know, for a bit of fun, like a Christmas calendar, it's all for a bit of fun for me and just putting together videos, a lot of them, of course. So we'll see how time consuming this will be, but I will be enjoying to just talk about so many Eurovision songs, as I always do. As you can see as well, today we have 31 songs. Usually there will be like 24 or 25 songs for each of these lists. However, there are in fact 31 today because of course there are more songs because these days you have 25th and 26th place. Back in the day, of course, before 2008, I want to say, there were only 24 songs. Even in 2001, I want to say, there were only 23. And then 2003 had 26 for some reason. It's very uneven of how many songs have participated in each year. So obviously, in today's video, there will be no songs from 2000, no songs from 2001, from 2002, from 2004, 5, 6, and 7. But I think you understand the whole concept of it. I feel like I'm talking too much and explaining too many things. But this is the episode number 1, so I feel like I just want to establish what's going on here. There is also a case, like in many years before 2008, there was no real like tiebreaker rule in place, which means that I've just kind of had to apply the tiebreaker rule that they have of the song that gets points from the most amount of countries is the one that I will have ranked above another one. So for instance, in 2002, I believe there are 3 songs tied on 13th place. I've ordered them, so one will be in the 13 video, 14 and 15. So that makes sense as well. I'll post that in the description, the kind of rules if they apply to one of these videos. However, I think that's gotta be it for now. Like, I don't need to explain everything in detail. You'll figure out what's going on in this series as we go along. But really, all this will come down to, all of these ranking videos will just be my personal preference of the songs and the performances. It's not the objective list. It's not these are absolutely the best ones and these are the worst ones on each list. It's just what I feel, and I'm mainly going from vibes, I gotta say, because that's more fun for me. And yeah, we'll work our way from 31st up to 1st. As you can see, there are too many songs on this one, so I've kind of slammed number 16 in down at the middle. It looks a bit weird, but hopefully you'll get adjusted to that as we go along. And I'll start from the bottom and work on my way up. In 31st place, out of all the songs you can see down there at the bottom, the one that I enjoyed the least has to be the song I Don't Feel Hate from Germany in 2021, because for a fact, I just do not enjoy this. The whole concept of the song mainly is kind of my problem with it, but it's just performed in such a way that it kind of gives me a very negative impression of everything that they set out to do. I don't think it's funny, and if you don't think the song is funny, then the song is not for you. Like, you won't enjoy it in any aspect. I understand what they want to do, but it's too much, too all over the place, too messy, and it feels like it's kind of making a mockery of itself, which I'm just not a fan of, so I have to place this one last. I just can't stand it. I really can't. So yeah, sorry Jendrik and the gang on stage, but Germany 2021, that's going to be in 31st here. And in 30th, there are of course a lot of British songs in today's list. As you can see, the UK have finished towards the bottom of the scoreboard quite a lot of times. I'm putting Crybaby in 30th. Of course, a very infamous Nul Point song from the UK back in 2003. And I mean, for a reason, I suppose. The vocals are all over the place. The choreography is a bit tacky. The execution of the whole entry is not particularly enjoyable for me. It's one of these cases where you just feel like they had a lot of ideas and none of them really worked as well as they wanted them to. There's a neat little guitar line in this song, which I think is quite nice. I've also watched the recap of 2003 so many times that the hook is definitely imprinted in my head. Perhaps for the wrong reason. I don't know. I just don't think this is a very strong effort from the UK. They have better songs, but and they have better songs even in this video that scored similarly, of course. One of them will not be in 29th place. We'll get to more British songs soon, but in 29th I've gone for a little Spanish entry called Do It For Your Lover, which is it has its ideas there, here and there, that are quite nice. I think it has this relaxed, laid-back mood to it. It has a nice little rhythm and swing to the whole song. And it's, it's admirable of how it just wants to be upbeat and happy. But overall, it's just, it kind of leaves a sour taste in your mouth when you got the... well, mainly, I guess, the voice crack is, of course, a very unfortunate incident that happens in the performance, but it takes away from the whole impression that I get. Of course it does. And I'm just not particularly fond of the whole package altogether. So I'm placing Do It For Your Lover down in 29th. And I think I have my reasons for that. In 28th, I'm going with another British song, one that I do not enjoy in the slightest. I think that Embers is one of the more lackluster and anonymous entries that any country has sent to Eurovision. It just has no personality to it. There's a little bit of horns going on here, and they kind of fully embrace that with just putting these big trumpets on the stage. Vocally, it's a bit on the more kind of flat and uninteresting side, and songwriting-wise, it feels very by the books. The sound design is quite plastic in the track, and I get that it's it's a bit uplifting, it's a bit catchy at times, and it feels rather contemporary, but at the same time maybe 5 or 6 years a bit late. I mean, this song did participate in 2021, and I feel like the sound design is just not up to par of what 2021 should be. The performance is a bit off as well. I can't really commend many things about Embers. I just don't think it's a particularly strong effort. And the British songs will continue down here towards the bottom. In 27th, I've gone for I Wrote a Song. Now, I know a lot of people really like I Wrote a Song. I never did. I was very negative when I first made my reaction video to this song the first time I heard it, because I was so disappointed. It felt like the UK kind of turned a page there after Spaceman, and they went with more, they went for something that should really be quite a strong, compelling, upbeat pop tune. And at the end of it, I felt like everything was too predictable about this song. It just felt like every time that the song tried to do something, it was the most expected choice. I never really connected with it from a progressive point of view. I felt like the song just kind of trundles on its own stage. Quite monotonous in terms of melodic writing. Instrumental-wise, I think it's incredibly by the books and uninteresting as well. It just feels rather uninspired altogether. I understand the approach from it, and I think the kind of attitude that it tries to go for is quite something. But of course, you also have to put into account there is a performance of this song that is particularly underwhelming. I would say vocally, it's not particularly strong, and it feels just like something that I do not return to under any circumstance, which is a shame, but it's just one of those cases. I know it has its fans, and that's awesome. I'm just not one of them. Another song from the UK again. I'm terribly sorry, United Kingdom. You'll get your highs in another video maybe, but a song that I don't think has that many fans, to be completely honest, which is a shame, I suppose, for the artist and the song. But That Sounds Good to Me from 2010 from the UK is a bit of one of those that I've kind of forgotten that it actually happened. It's not particularly convincing. It feels rather uninspired. has some weird kind of choices in terms of sound design and actual instrumentation here. The beat is rather flat, the vocals have their moments where they're not particularly convincing, and overall it's quite a forgettable effort, I would say. Which, you know, just it's not horrible, but it's just there and doesn't really fill a function, I suppose. I'm placing this one in 26th. Now we're actually starting to get to, you know, less of like some songs that I kind of find good things about now. I would say in 25th place, this could seem harsh for some. I'm not sure. I put N'oubliez pas, which is the French song from 2015. I just find this one to be quite not dire, but it's very slow and quite uninspired, really. It has its march beat. It has some great kind of vocals to it, you know, that really kind of try to sell it. There's a lot of emotion in it, but at the same time, it does not have the kind of dynamic intensity that I'm really looking for. It doesn't have a progression to it that I connect with, and I find it quite underwhelming altogether, which is a shame. I find some pretty parts of it, but overall, I'm zoning out a little bit from this one, and there are, of course, a lot of more palpable and memorable French ballads that we'll talk about in other videos, I suppose. 24th, I'm going for Perfect Life from Germany. Quite the song that everyone just seems to be kind of in agreement that it's there, it's fine, but it's not really more than fine, and that's kind of where I'm landing on it as well. It feels quite predictable, it feels somewhat competent, but not more than that, and I think it's just kind of middle of the road in that sense. It's making up the numbers, does not leave me a memorable impression in terms of either melody or instrumental, and the vocals are fine. Everything's just decent, but not a lot more, so I'm placing this one in 24th. Doesn't really have many things that I seek to return to about it. 23rd place, a song that I don't think is particularly memorable per se, but I quite enjoy. It's called Contigo hasta el final from Spain in 2013. And every time I return to this one, I feel like there are some cool ideas in here. Instrumentally, I'm quite fond of it. I think there's a nice little energy to the track. Performance seems to have kind of an ambition to also be very inviting and enjoyable. Vocally, I'm not entirely sold on it. I think it's a bit shrill in that sense. And at the end of the day, I think my main issue really is that I don't think it's particularly memorable from a melodic standpoint, unfortunately. Maybe there's a language barrier for me personally there that makes me not connect with it as much. But it's one of these that passes me by a little bit. Maybe it's also kind of losing out a bit because there are so many songs from 2013 that I find to be quite memorable, and this one is unfortunately not one of them, of course. I'm placing it in 23rd. I still think it's all right there, but it's kind of passing me by a little bit as well. In 22nd, another German song. I think it's the third one, yeah. I'm going with Black Smoke here. I know that Black Smoke has quite a lot of fans. It is a melodically quite cool entry in terms of the chorus. Instrumentally, it has its moments, kind of a little bit of suspense, a little bit of mystery in there. I'm not overly fond, I've said this before, I'm not fond of the presentation of it at all. It feels like it wants to be too sultry or too kind of it's kind of lying into that mystic vibe a bit much, and it becomes a bit, this is gonna sound a bit harsh, but a bit laughable with the types of poses that our performer, I think her name is Anne-Sophie, is trying to do in the verses. She's trying to be very appealing through the camera, and it looks just off to me. I don't think it's particularly fitting, and I mean the song has its moments, but it's at the same time not one of these songs that I just find to be very, very strong. It's just there, it's kind of cool to have in selection, but the presentation kind of ruins it for me a bit. Still 22nd, I'll place it on this list, which is of course a place in the bottom 10, but just. 21st, moving ahead of Black Smoke, is the second song from 2003 called To Dream Again, Malta's song from 2003. Quite a pleasant one, this one. Melodically nice, it's quite sweet altogether, just not the greatest execution, I guess, throughout the whole thing, and I'm not entirely sold on what they set out to do, but it has its moments. I think the chorus has a nice melody to it, and lyrically, you know, it has a little bit of a sweet kind of vibe to it that it wants to transmit, and I can't fault it for that. It's just not particularly striking at the same time. So I'm going for 21st here on Malta's song from 2003. Just behind another British song, surprise, surprise, we got Bigger Than Us in 20th, which maybe some people think is a bit high. And that's, you know, perhaps, but I think there's just nothing really wrong with this song. There's not a lot of right either, I suppose. I mean, it's very predictable and by the books, and it just does what it's trying to do. Not particularly impressive in any regard, but it's still quite pleasant, and you know, it has a little bit of a sing-along friendly, accessible quality to it without really doing much harm. I think it's harmless, and to some people that's the worst thing you can be, but for me, I just don't really mind it, and I find it to be somewhat pleasant. So I'm going for 20th place on Bigger Than Us. And when there's a British song, you know, a German one is coming up after it. Ghost from 2016, Germany there. Melodically quite nice, instrumentally also very contemporary from 2016. I remember liking it quite a bit in the studio cut. I think a lot of it comes down to, you know, the presentation. I get it if you want to dress up the way you do as a performer and you want to kind of give that impression to the audience. But it took me out of the song quite a lot, to be completely honest. I don't agree with the presentation that the song is using. And at the same time, that also kind of makes me more and more aware of the fact that the song is not particularly substantial in terms of its arrangement or anything like that. It feels quite minimalistic, and it's trying to be that, but it also showcases that there's not a lot underneath within this song. Melodically, pretty decent, but that's really about it. I suppose I'm going for 19th with Ghost. 18th, a song that has a bit of a different vibe to Ghost for sure, very upbeat, Tutta l'Italia, which is of course our most recent 26th placer in Eurovision, from San Marino. And I mean, the vocals are kind of their own little chapter, I suppose. They're not particularly impressive. The song is all about just fun, inviting energy, and it's doing that. Perhaps just not a lot more than that, I guess, for me, which puts this one in 18th for those reasons. I'm still a bit surprised that, you know, it actually made it through the semi-final, but it's kind of a nice addition to have in a final, to be honest. But I'm just not particularly impressed with what they got here. It's catchy, but I mean, it's reasonable that it was the Sanremo jingle or whatever you want to call it, because it has the chorus and then maybe not a lot else, I suppose. 17th, more fun songs, I suppose. I'm going with Mustache here, which some people may think is way too high because it's a bit of a... I wouldn't call it a train wreck, but, you know, it has its vibe of just being quite tacky, a bit too much, a bit on the amateurish side. It's just very catchy for me. I think I like the vocal chops in the background as well. I think the song is very much a 2014 thing, for sure. It's a bit on the funny side. It's a bit of tee-hee funny. And the presentation is, you know, they're just kind of being clownish, which you can make what you will of it. But with this song, for some reason, it just works somewhat with me. I don't think this is a particularly intriguing song or a complex composition or anything like that to be rewarded, but a bit of tee-hee fun, and yeah, I can give them that. It's catchy. I can sing along to it. I can tap my foot. So 17th. Just behind them, the middle spot, I'm placing it down here, as you can see on the screen. In 16th, I'm going with Rockstars, another song from Germany. It feels like the whole list is covered with German songs, and this is not the last one. There are at least 2 more, I think. But Rockstars, I think a lot of people have said what needs to be said about it. It just does not stand out, and I think 2022 was a really strong year where this one just kind of slipped through the cracks. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, really. I like the kind of passion that Malik here puts into the performance, in particular in his bit of rapping verse there. I like the whole presentation on stage as well. The lighting's cool. I like how he uses the different instruments. The presentation is nice. It's just that the song, I think mainly the chorus, it's not particularly engaging. I would say it feels a bit on the weaker side, a bit lackluster, and not uh, particularly punchy or memorable. With at other parts of the track, you kind of feel like it's trying to be more, but overall, I'm going with 16th on this one. Just behind a performance that I really admire for a song that I've never really enjoyed, which would be Monsters from Finland in 2018. This has never been one of the songs that I've found particularly interesting. I feel like it's by the books in terms of a pop song, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it just never excited me. But of course, there is the case of a performer performing this song who is definitely giving it her all in Sara Alto, I think. Some quirky little ideas with the performance, her hanging upside down, and you know, just doing a lot of high notes and really kind of going all in for it. And I admire that, so I think that should be commended. So I'm going with 15th place for Monsters. From one Finnish song to another one. Back in 2009, Finland sent Lose Control. Still one of these songs that the chorus of it is still stuck in my head. Like I can go around singing on this one 16 years later than it performed. But it's, you know, it's catchy for sure. The performance is it is what it is, but you know, it's a bit of fun with the flame wheel spinning around and whatnot. And there's a little bit of rapping in here. Maybe not the most convincing rapping, but there's a bit of rapping here. Put some variation to the track and makes it a fun little listen. So I'm going with 14th on this one. And did you think we were done with the German songs? No, we were not. 13th, Blood and Glitter from 2023, which, you know, obviously was a song that people thought would really like actually give Germany a good result again. And instead, that happened the year after this one, kind of unexpectedly, I suppose. Blood and Glitter, it's a nice little mash of like Schlager and metal, I suppose, which I quite enjoy. A very dark-ish performance. I don't see a lot. There's a lot of red going on in it, of course, and that's kind of the point. But it feels like something is detracted from the impression that I get from just looking at the performance. I don't feel like it particularly speaks to me. Song-wise, it is for sure, you know, it's nice to have the metal influences in there, some cool rocky elements, some punchy drumming, nice little variations throughout the song with the riffs. But the chorus is a bit on a letdown, I would say, for me anyway. I don't connect with it as much as I want to, but I'm still placing it 13th here. I think there are strong qualities within the song, just not enough for me to really be floored by it, I suppose. 12th place, I'm going with an Irish song, Only Love Survives from 2013, which is a song that the chorus of this one I've always been disappointed by. I think it's a bit too feeble in terms of its punch, which is, you know, the most interesting part about it is definitely the fact that the verses are a lot more. The verses are quite cool. I think there's kind of an atmospheric tone to them, and they're building really nicely, really nicely actually, with the drumming just increasing, and there feels to be kind of a natural progression and actually use of some kind of emotional intensity with being built in the verses there to really lead into a large kind of progressive house chorus. And instead, it's turning into a little bit of a letdown every time the chorus hits for me, which is unfortunate. It has its moments, it's nice all around, but it could have been way more, I feel, which is the main issue I have with it. Going with 11th place then, just outside my top 10 here, another British song. That's the way it is, I suppose. Love Will Set You Free by Engelbert Humperdinck. A song that maybe not a lot of people would put this high up on the list. I'm not sure, but I've always found it to be quite pretty. I think that it's somewhat sincere, it's quite professional, and I'm really fond of that melody as well. I think it's a very pretty song in terms of its writing. Performance is a bit on the flat side for sure. One could wonder what would it have looked like in 2025. I think maybe the song is definitely more of suited to be from the older years, maybe even older than 2012 for sure, with the kind of minimalism that it's going for. But a nice little arrangement, a pretty composition, solidly performed as well by Engelbert there. I'm quite fond of it, I have to say, and I'm going with 11th place for it. And now into the top 10 there. From these two songs, like 11th and 10th, they're polar opposites really. I'm going with Roa from Iceland in 2025 in 10th here, which is, you know, just very youthful little anthem, I suppose. Very cool kind of drive throughout the song. I think it just goes all out, and I'm enjoying that quite a bit. I think that the Production is quite strong. There's a lot of fun detailing within the song as well, and particularly the instrumental sections after each chorus. They're just kind of continuing the flow of the track very nicely. There's a lot of energy in it, and you definitely get me engaged within this song. It's not vocally brilliant, but I suppose it doesn't really have to be. And they're doing a lot of fun things with the performance as well, which I admire and appreciate. So all the more power to them. I'm so glad they made the final this year, really. And if I remember correctly, I did predict it, so kudos to me on that one, I suppose. An enjoyable song there from Iceland, I would say. In ninth, I'm going with another song from 2012, the song that finished in last place, actually, which was Stay from Norway. Always found this one to be quite decent, really. It's not, strikingly exciting or anything like that, but it's catchy. It has some really neat instrumental sections within the song, quite characteristic. I don't think you should call them riffs, but like interesting and characteristic motifs from different instrumental inputs. Nice little energy throughout the song. The chorus is a bit on the weaker side, I would say, but it's at the end of the day just kind of a thing of its time, and an enjoyable punchy little tune, to be honest, that I quite enjoy, and some good effort with the choreography as well. So quite fond of Stay, actually. And perhaps I don't really think that it was the weakest song in that 2012 final, personally. Now, I know maybe a lot of you would have put this song very much further down the list, but I'm going with Sister in 8th place. Can you believe it? And that is obviously the highest ranked German song, I think. Yes, on this list out of the 20 that are here. But Sister it's not the most exciting song. No, it's not. And I guess that's where it placed as well where it did. And the performance is not particularly interesting either, and it's a bit on the funny side with the large faces on the backdrop and whatnot. But whenever I listen to this song, I feel like those choruses just come together. Melodically, they're nothing for sure, but the instrumental, like the collective soundstage that you get from these choruses, it feels very complete. I think the song builds nicely to them. There's some nice piano work in there, and melodically in the verses and the build-ups, those melodies just kind of stick a little bit in my head as well, and I find it to be rather pretty altogether. That's just how it comes across to me. I don't think it's a particularly, striking effort in any regard, but enjoyable, and I'm quite, I wouldn't say touched by it, but I'm quite intrigued by it, I would say, and I like it. So yeah, kudos to Sisters from Germany with the song Sister, about sisters. 7th place, O Jardim, or however you pronounce it, from Portugal in 2018. The host entry there, of course, that finished in last place. Pretty little song. I do think that it's a bit on the lackluster side in terms of its actual, dynamics and kind of development throughout the song. But it is very pretty vocally, quite mellow and just very pleasant, and has a nice little flow to the song as well. Some cool kind of production quality in it as well, with some nice percussive elements. Of course, I would have preferred the song to have more of a development into something more interesting as well. But for what it is, I think it's pleasant enough, and I'm going with 7th place for it. 6th place, speaking of pleasant, I would say Switzerland 2011, In Love for a While. Just a nice little flow throughout the song. It doesn't do anything spectacular, but it's very enjoyable. Vocally competent, nice little camera work with the spinning around. It becomes a bit too much with the na 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 na. That is a bit on the tiresome side, but overall the instrumentation of the track is one that I do like. I think the song flows nicely. It has just a pleasant atmosphere around it, and I'm going with 6th place for it. Why not? 5th place, a Slovenian little entry here from 2014 called Round and Round. Good chorus, definitely. Vocally competent, nice little motifs from the little flute-like instrument as well, and just an overall, convincing pop tune, I would say, in most areas. Enjoyable, strong effort. Wasn't enough to really give Slovenia a super good result in 2014, but they made the final, and I definitely think they should have. It's a respectable effort, just solid pop tune all around with a nice execution. yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. More good stuff from the UK this time. Fourth place, I'm going with Even If from the United Kingdom in 2008. And that obviously mainly comes down to Andy on stage here, who is just pure joy to watch him perform. I think he's loving every moment of it. His backing group as well. The song is catchy. It's very funky. It has some nice little bass walks, some nice guitar work in there. It's high in energy. It's catchy, memorable. I got my foot tapping along to it. I've always liked this song, and the more I return to it, like even today, if I return to it, I come to my senses and think, I really think this is quite good. And I don't think it should have finished in last place, which it did in 2008, but that's the way it is. Only 3 songs left, of course. The top 3, you can see which ones. They're still in a bit lit up. They're below me. And in third place, I'm going with I Stand from Czech Republic, or Czechia, back in 2016. Very pretty ballad, strong vocals. Love the presentation of this one as well, with all of the flowers, and the lighting is beautiful. I love the purple shades and the blue. It's just a very pretty performance altogether, vocally strong. And while I don't think that the song is the most exciting, again, I feel like I've said that about a lot of songs today, but maybe that's where they end up where they do on the list. I still think this is a very pretty entry. It's written quite nicely, and it has a very strong development throughout the song as well. It definitely progresses in a strong way. And the final chorus is really quite nice. I think third place for I Stand. I will stand by that opinion. Sorry. 2 songs left. I'm going with I Am Yours in second place, which was the Austrian song from 2015 with the burning piano and everything. And I mean, it did get null point. I know it did. I always found that to be a bit too harsh. I think this is I get it. Austria did not, it was never a winning contender in 2015. But it was just a strong, well-written tune, I would say. I would have preferred, I would have thought that the jurors would really give it a little bit, because the songwriting of it is very nice. It has a great kind of chord progression to it that just flows so naturally. It takes its own turns. It does what it wants to do. It feels very lively. It feels like a musician's kind of song, and it's well performed as well, I would say. Nice little chorus, a very enjoyable, great instrumentation with some quite characteristic inputs from all instruments on stage, really, with the piano, I guess, being the highlight. And it just feels professional. It feels profound. It feels like something that you could watch a performance, like a live performance of at any, quite in a context where it's not so glossed up, everything. Like if this song performed back in the 90s, I feel like it would have been appreciated way more. Now that could obviously sound like a negative thing, like, oh, it's just out of touch. But I think this kind of music is timeless, really, and I would have, of course, loved to see this one do better when it performed, when it competed. It just never did, but it's still one that I can listen to today and definitely enjoy quite a lot. However, something that I will enjoy, of course, even more if I listen to it today or at any point. For me, the fact that Ulvaham finished in last place, it's never going to feel right. I get why it did it, because it just wasn't accessible, I suppose, enough. But I was floored the first time I saw the performance back in Melody Grand Prix, and I still am very impressed every time I watch this performance. It's very compelling. I love the atmospheric qualities of the track. I think the rock influences as well are so hard-hitting. The production of this track is stellar. It really is. Love the presentation as well. It's a lot of lights. It's a lot of intensity and hectic kind of chaos on stage. But I like that aspect of it. I think the presentation is perfect. I will always think that this is, well, as you can see on this list, out of these 31 songs, I think this is head and shoulders the one that I return to the most, in terms of just how much I really think it's very, very strong and very compelling. And I love it. I still really love it. I think this one is honestly head and shoulders above the rest here, and one of the most unfairly treated in terms of results that I can think back to. But that's just me. At the end of the day, all of this list today is all just me. Your list will probably look entirely different, but please let me know if you want to write all 31 do so. But yeah, you can compare your list to mine. Perhaps you think my list is absolute nonsense, and that's completely fine. As I said, this is the Christmas calendar. It's all for a bit of fun and just me making videos, sharing my thoughts about more Eurovision songs, as I do from time to time. So yeah, hopefully you'll stick around for the entire series, right? There will be 25 episodes of these, and one will drop every day. So keep an eye out if you want to keep watching them. For today, though, I thank you very much for sticking around all the way until the end. Tomorrow, there will be less songs to talk about. This is obviously the video with the most songs, because there are 31 of them. In the remaining ones, there will be a few less songs, which would make the videos a bit shorter as well, I suppose. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me for this one. Hopefully, you'll stick around for the entire series, maybe. And if you do, I'll see you tomorrow. Take care of yourselves until then, though, and bye for now.